The muscular system physiology. Types of muscle موجودة بالbody, either smooth or visceral muscles, or cardiac muscle, or skeletal muscle. The smooth or visceral muscles is located in the wall of hollow internal organs and blood vessels of the body. Small intestine, the throat, blood vessels, arteries and veins, bronchioles, the respiratory tract, urinary bladder, ureters, uterus, fallopian tube. Smooth muscle fibers have single nucleus and are usually arranged in parallels line and are not striated. Smooth muscles are involuntary, do not fatigue easily, and are controlled by the medulla oblongata in the brain, which is responsible for controlling involuntary action throughout the body. This is for the smooth or visceral muscle. For the cardiac muscle, it is also involuntary muscle and forms the wall of the heart. Its main function is to pump blood into the circulation. Cardiac muscle also have single nucleus, are striated. It's not like the visceral muscles or smooth muscles. And branched and tubular. The skeletal muscle make up the muscular system of the body, over 600 muscles, and account for 40 to 50% of the body weight in an adult. The skeletal muscles are the only voluntary muscles of the body and are the muscles involved in moving bone and generating external movement. The skeletal muscles is also referred to as striated muscles because of the banded pattern of the cells microscopically. The functions of the muscular system is maintain posture, maintain an erect or seated posture because of the continuous adjustment that the skeletal muscle make, produce movement, stabilize joints, generate heat, protection and control of internal tissue structure, organs, or as the visceral organs and internal tissue contained within the abdominal cavity or floor of the pelvis. A gross anatomy of the muscle and function of surrounding tissue as follows. As a single muscle fiber, which is due to their large size, contain hundreds of nuclei, multinucleated muscle fiber. A skeletal muscle consists of individual muscle fiber which are markedly different from typical cells, not least to their size. يعني مؤكد السايز مالتها كلش كبير بحيث multiple nuclei بيها و large one, bundled into fascicles and surrounded by 3 layers of connective tissue. Muscle is separated from skin by the hypodermis, which consists of adipose tissue, which provides insulation and protects the muscle from physical damage, and a dense broad band of connective tissue known as fascia. بالإضافة للhypodermis, fascia, which supports and surrounds muscle tissue and provides a pathway for nerves. أيضا يدخل من خلالها nerves lymphatics blood vessels to enter and exit the muscle. Extending from the fascia are 3 layers of connective tissue which also play a role in supporting and protecting the muscle and are necessary to ensure that the force of contraction from each muscle cell is transmitted to its point of attachment to the skeleton. Okay, one thing that you are usually use what's called intramuscular injection. An intramuscular injection is given directly into the selected muscle, and whilst there are several sites on the body that are suitable for intramuscular injection, the most common areas used are deltoid muscle of the upper arm, بفوق بالكتف, the vastus lateralis muscle, which forms part of the quadriceps muscle group in the upper leg, بالupper leg anteriorly, and the gluteus medius اللي هي بالخلف, which runs beneath the gluteus maximus from the ilium to the femur. Intramuscular injections are used for the delivery of certain drugs that cannot be given via an oral, intravenous, or subcutaneous route. The intramuscular route enables a large amount of up to 5 ml of drugs to be introduced at one time, minimize tissue irritation, and provides faster route than subcutaneous or intradermal injection. السبكوتينيوس ما تحت الجلد مثل الانسولين، انتراديرمال داخل الجلد في كما في بعض الفاكسينز نعطي. What about the contraction and the relaxation? Skeletal muscle contracts in response to stimulation by an electrical signal اللي هي muscle action potential delivered by the motor neuron, which is found halfway along the muscle. يعني منتصف المصل طول مالتها اكوش انت بليت موجود هناك وموجود موتور حقيقة نيرف الموتور نيورون اللي يعطي ايعاز اللي هي الاكشن بوتنشال راح يصير ويسوي كونتراكشن بالمصل. where it terminates at the neuromuscular junction. Skeletal muscle fiber are stimulated by the neuron that control the production of an action potential اللي هو electrical impulse in the sarcolemma by release of acetylcholine or binding of acetylcholine at motor end plate with the conduction of action potential by the sarcolemma and then later on muscle relaxation. Muscle fiber require an energy source to enable them to contract as and when needed. This is provided initially in the form of ATP, اللي هو adenosine triphosphate, which is stored in the muscle fiber. Working muscle require additional pathway to produce ATP, and these include creatine phosphokinase broken down to creatine, phosphate and energy, or anaerobic respiration. Glycogen is the most abundant energy source found in the muscle fiber and is broken down into glucose. ليش نحتاج هاي الباثويز؟ لأنه الاي تي بي اللي موجود مخزون هو محدود، وكل ما نتحرك أكثر أو الموفمنت يصير مع المصل يحتاج more energy, so we need another pathways to give energy to the muscle. What is the organization of the skeletal muscle system? Every one of the body's skeletal muscle is attached at a minimum of 2 points to bone or other connective tissue. Point of insertion, origin, and point of insertion. Point of origin, insertion. Origin and insertion. When one part of the skeleton is moved by muscle contraction, related parts have to be steadied by other muscle for the movement to be effective. Okay. Other muscles possibly may counteract the effect لأنه على مود يتحرك الأورجن throughout the joint. Okay. The origin of the muscle is on the stationary bone where it begins and the muscle end at an insertion on the bone that move. Muscle can be named according to size, shape, location, number of origin, associated bones, and the action of the muscle. The body's skeletal muscle can be divided into 4 areas. 4 areas بالحقيقة مال skeletal muscles. بس هي groups هناك مال muscle موجودة بالareas هاي. الhead and neck muscles of the upper limb اللي هي shoulder arm, forearm, الtrunks زين الثوركس والabdomen والباك بالإضافة للmuscle of lower limbs الhip, pelvis, thigh and leg. Skeletal muscle movement occur as a result of more than one muscle movement and muscle invariable move in groups. As a general rule, when a muscle contracts at a joint, one bone remains fairly stationary and the other one moves. Least two opposing muscles, agonist and antagonist, acting on a joint which bring about movement in opposite direction. These are the groups of muscle. This is the head and neck, هنا shoulder, anterior, this view anterior, also the abdomen, thorax, and the lower limb, hip and thigh. This is anterior, posterior also, the upper and the thorax posteriorly, with lower limbs and thigh posteriorly. Common types of body movements: extension, a movement that increases the angle or distance between two bones or parts of the body. في واحد مد إيده. Hyperextension, an extension angle more than 180 degree. Hyperextension. Flexion, لما يسد إيده يجيبها. The opposite of extension in that it's movement that decreases the angle or distance between two bones and brings the bones closer together and is common movement of hinge joints, for example, bending the elbow or knee. Abduction, moving a limb away from the midline of the body. Adduction, the opposite of abduction, the movement of the limb toward the midline of the body. Rotation, a movement common to ball and socket joints and is the movement of a bone around its longitudinal axis. As circumduction, a combination of abduction, adduction, extension, and flexion. The same types of movement can be seen here in this diagram. What's the effect of age on the muscle physiology? Loss of elasticity skeletal muscle. As muscle age, they lose their elasticity due to a process called fibrosis. Fibrosis causes aging muscle to develop increased amount of fibrous connective tissue, which results in a loss of flexibility, movement, and circulation. And that exerts its effect on aging process. ولهذا الكبار بالعمر ما يقدرون يسوون نفس الحركات الرياضية ونفس المسل موفمنت اللي يقدرون بها الصغار بالعمر. Decrease in size of muscle fiber as the muscle age. The number of myofibrils decrease and results in a loss of muscle strength and an increased tendency for the muscle to fatigue more quickly. تتعب بالعجل. This tendency for rapid fatigue also means that with age there is lower tolerance for exercise. كبار بالعمر ما يقدرون يتحملون exercise هواية. Age-related reduction in cardiovascular performance means that blood flow to the muscle does not increase with exercise, and the ability to recover from muscular injury decreases and is likely to result in scar tissue formation. أيضا أنه ويا العمر الكارديوفاسكولار سيستم efficiency يقل، ولهذا البلاد فلو والبلاد سبلاي تو ذا muscle يقل، ولهذا القابلية مع الفانكشن and fibrous production in this tissue occur. Okay, this is for the muscular physiology.